Hello, everyone. How are you? GMan and my husband, Comrade Avian, are backstage. So we're just going to do a quick little intro. Hi, guys. How are you? I know it's been a really long time since I've done a stream. Life has been incredibly busy with all our immigration stuff, which is coming to a close hopefully very soon on September the 12th. And hopefully after that, once the move is all completed, I can get back to streaming on a regular basis. However, I was watching one of Dragnot streams a couple of days ago, I think, where he was talking about GMan. And GMan had said in the video that Drag was reviewing that he was open to talking to atheists about our atheism. We had to meet a couple of stipulations. One of them was messaging him on Skype. So through that video, I was able to get GMan's Skype name, and we did have a conversation today, and we did cover some topics. And at the end of the conversation, I offered GMan to come on the stream and come and talk further about some of the things that we had talked about in our text conversation. And yeah, he's here to join us. So I'm going to add my husband and GMan to the stream here. 1 second. It's been a while. Hello, husband. How are you?
I am good. I didn't realize you had added
Your sound and everything is all working?
I believe so. It seems to be.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Okay. So are you prepared to talk about the atheism with GMan? You don't really know much about GMan, do you?
I know a little bit about him, but I need to prepare myself. Hold on. We got this.
Oh, you're going to be drinking. Okay. I can't turn my camera on simply because I'm on rural internet. I don't have the bandwidth to have my camera on, which will be something that is rectified when I'm in Pennsylvania in a month or two. So for now, I have to stay off camera. But there's my husband. All right, we're going to add GMan into the stream, and we can get down to the nitty-gritty of what we were going to talk about today. There we go. Hello, GMan. Thanks for joining us. Oh, he may not be able to hear us yet.
No, I can hear you.
Oh, there you go. All right, so
I might sound a little bit choppy because I have a fan in the background. So just let me know if I sound choppy.
No, you sound good on my end, husband. Can you hear him okay?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, awesome, wonderful. All right, so I'm just going to quickly pull up our conversation from earlier because we had discussed we covered a whole lot of topics when it comes to atheism today. Was there anything in particular that you wanted to start the conversation off with, GMan?
No, it's better that you lead and talk about the conversation because I felt like when we talked on Skype, when we text on Skype, because we didn't really talk, that we was kind of all over the place.
Mm-hmm. So basically our conversation started off where I described my atheism to you and why I was an atheist to begin with. So I just briefly went over that I was raised without religion, that I did briefly explore Christianity by going to church and doing a number of things. I was in like a new believers class. I had one-on-one meetings with a pastor. I was assigned, church mentors. I was given a Bible. So, I mean, I did have a lot of resources provided to me to kind of explore Christianity. But ultimately, in the end, I still was not convinced. And I stopped going to church because I felt like I was defrauding the people that I was with, that whole community, by basically pretending to believe. And since then, I've kind of explored a lot into religion, also different religions, Islam in particular. And I'm still, 2.5 years later, have not been presented with anything that has convinced me that a God is real.
See, that's the difference. And this is what I was trying to tell you. This is what I was trying to tell you on Skype. There's a big difference between being a Christian and believing whether or not God exists. They're not the same thing.
No, I understand that.
Yeah. So Christians are not commanded to go out, into the whole world proving that God exists. That's not what we do. So
right, you're supposed to spread the gospel, basically.
The gospel of Jesus Christ. Yeah, the good news of Jesus Christ. But as far as like this atheism theism thing, this has absolutely nothing to do with Christianity whatsoever.
How so? Because you have to be a
Christianity deals
theist
with
in order
turning from
to
your
follow
sins.
into Christianity.
Yeah, you have to turn from your sins, and you have to. Well, first you got to admit that you're a sinner. You need to acknowledge you need a savior. The savior is Jesus. You believe in your heart that God rose from the dead on the third day, and the Bible says that you'll be saved. That's Christianity.
But
Christianity is all about following Jesus Christ.
Right, but you have to have that belief in God in order to have that as a foundation to move into Christianity. Because if you don't believe in God, then what's the point of making a declaration to Jesus if you don't believe? Because that's just basically pretending, is it not?
Theism and atheism is different than talking about Christianity. So you can't even be a Christian unless you believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of the living God. And you said in your text on Skype, and you can go look at it, that you was never a Christian. So that means you did not believe that Jesus was the Christ, the Son of the living God. You didn't repent of no sins. You was a churchgoer.
No, because I didn't. Right, because I didn't have a belief in God, and that's what I struggled with, because that is a foundation. I can't move on and say I accept Jesus if I first don't believe that God is there.
How did you end up in new believers class if you didn't believe that God existed? How did you end up in new believers class if you didn't believe that God existed? I'm just curious.
Because it was recommended to me that there was, because I can't quite remember what it was called. It was a specific new believer class, and there was a series of videos that were done by a particular pastor. And it was recommended to me that it would help me with my struggles with belief in covering the topics that they did. I was given a workbook. We had classes once a week. And yeah, that was one of the first things that my pastor suggested to me to work through the struggles I was having with belief.
Okay. So in your own words, why exactly do you struggle with believing that God exists? Because I have a completely different take on why people are atheists, or at least identify with atheists, because I don't believe in atheists. But could you articulate why you struggle with belief? I'm just curious.
Sure. I honestly don't believe. I can't, in order to believe something, I have to be convinced that it's true. Right. So, and I don't see how I can believe in something if I'm not first convinced it's true, because that feels to me like I'm just pretending to believe something. So every time I went to church or I talked about it or I tried to pray or do any of that stuff, I didn't feel like I believed. I was like, I don't really believe that there's a God out there. I want to believe, but I don't, and I didn't know how to change my own mind, which is why I sought out going to church and Christianity, because I thought if I learned more about it, it would help me get there, and it never did.
Do you know what the difference between an atheist and an agnostic atheist is?
Yes.
What are they?
An agnostic is someone who doesn't know if God is real, and an atheist is somebody that says, well, this is basic, but they say that God is not real. Or they lack a belief in a God that's real.
So, well, first and foremost, that whole term about lacking belief was Matt Dillahunty's way of getting away from his burden of proof. That's why he says he likes belief.
That's actually that's the dictionary definition of atheism, though.
No,
it says lack of belief.
Yeah, the recent definition of it is the lack of belief, but the historical definition is that they believe that God exists. It is the positive claim that God doesn't exist.
It's more
if you actually look at an older dictionary, if you actually go look at an older dictionary, it says that it's a positive belief that God does not exist. It's Matt Dillahunty playing with words and equivocating with the whole with the lack of belief nonsense.
So,
you know what I mean?
So the dictionary was changed because Matt Dillahunty said lack of belief?
No, the dictionary was changed because a lot of modern atheists, want to stay away from their burden of proof. See, here's the thing. The reason why I asked you what was the difference between an atheist and an agnostic atheist was because, how do you know that God doesn't exist? You say you don't believe it. Okay, great. How confident are you that he doesn't exist?
100%.
Okay, great. How do you know that?
Because I have no evidence for the contrary.
I have no evidence we've been on the moon, but I believe it.
There's plenty of evidence.
No, it isn't. There's nowhere in the world we got through the cosmic radiation and was able to send back those pictures. And then there's just too much evidence to suggest that it was a hoax.
Friend, there's Friend, there's tons of evidence. There's people who physically went there. There's dust that we brought.
You
back.
wasn't there. You wasn't there, so you don't know it. You taking somebody's word for it.
I was not.
Okay, I have a counter. I have a counter to that though. GMan, do you believe that the resurrection is real?
Absolutely.
How?
But you weren't there, so how do you know?
Well, first of all, let's take a look at my.
The same logic can be applied if you're saying that you.
I never answered your question because you got to wait for me to talk and then say that because I know how this goes. The same logic cannot be used because I'm not using your way of going about determining whether or not something is true or not.
No, we're just using.
See, I use faith.
GMan.
We're
just using your logic against you. That's all.
No, you're not. No, you're not. I never see. Here's the thing. You skipped the step, and the step was, GMan, how do you go about determining whether or not something is true? You never asked me that. And before I could say anything, you attempted to use an argument you haven't even heard yet.
Friend, you didn't ask us that question.
Well, I'm trying to get to it now. So the bottom line is I believe in faith. And I believe that you have a faith that God doesn't exist. And I believe that this the young lady that I'm talking to, what is your name? Lady Avon? I believe that you definitely have faith that there is no God because neither of you nor any other atheist in history has been able to come up with a logical, rational reason for why God doesn't exist.
Yeah, because
but no one's proved that God has existed. So
that's not true.
How can I prove? How can I prove something is not true when it first hasn't been proven? Okay, so let's look at the statement that you just made. You just made a statement that said nobody, that means in history, has ever proven that God exists. That's what you just got finished saying. Yeah, that's a fact. Okay, good. There's no verifiable evidence that God exists. How do you explain atheists? Hold on a minute. Before we get to intelligent design and all those other arguments, how do you explain atheists that leave atheism and become hardcore Christians? Just curious. Because they changed their minds. Something convinced them. How is that relevant? So you can no longer say now you can no longer say that no one's ever proven that he's existed. Can I return that same question? Everybody's burden of proof is different. Everybody's burden of proof is different. Okay, but people can be convinced by lots of other things. There's people out there that are convinced that aliens are real. Does that mean that aliens are real? According to the evolutionary worldview, you guys got to believe aliens exist. You can't believe that we're the only ones out here if you believe in evolution. No, there's nothing in our worldview that says we have to or have not to believe in something. If you don't believe in aliens, then you don't believe in evolution. Evolution and aliens are two completely different things. Like they're not related. No, they're not. No, they're not. Evolution is the process of how life diversified on the planet Earth. It's got nothing to do with life on other planets. What about other planets? What about other planets? What about other planets? Don't know anything about other planets and life on other planets. That's not true. That's not true. I can show you Iron Raw. I can show you Thunderfoot. I can show you all these other scientists that are claiming that there must be life on other planets. Even Richard Dawkins admitted that. Bro, they're looking at probabilities, yes, but there's no hardcore evidence that there is life on other planets yet because we have not found it. It's a probability. That's different. That doesn't prove any part of your argument, though. That has nothing to do with any of this conversation. Actually, it does. All right, please go on. When we start talking about why a person believes the things that they believe and whether or not they have evidence to back up that belief, it has everything to do with that. You, on the other hand, sir, don't got one good reason to say that you're, to try to justify being an atheist. What you're going to do is tell me no one's ever proven that God exists. You're going to go in a circle, and then I'm going to go back and say, okay, people in the past, and even people today have been convinced that God exists. That's a dumb argument. You can't come out there and say that nobody, because you're speaking for everybody at this point now. Are you telling me that's a mistake? No, I'm only speaking for myself. Stop saying that nobody's ever proven that God existed. Then that's dumb. Because we don't have concrete evidence that a God does exist. Yes, otherwise, because if we did, everybody would believe it across the board. Actually, we do, and I'm going to prove it. And earlier, when we was on Skype and we were using definitions, I said that I don't believe that you were using these words correctly. I think you remember that, and I think you got a little offended when I said it. I don't think you know what a God is or what gods are. What's your definition of God? Yeah, well, first of all, when we're talking about the Christian God, we're talking about a God that is outside of time and space, who is all-knowing and all-powerful, and a very loving God. Yes. You guys make a mistake and say he's all-loving, and he's not. Y'all do that all the time. Number two. So if he's outside of time and space, then how can he exist? Because anything outside of time and space doesn't exist. All we can verify is what exists here. Do you believe in proton particles? I don't know anything about it. Anyway, the second definition.
Anyway, the second definition.
G-Man, please elaborate. What exactly about a proton particle?
Well, according to your Big Bang theory, this is going off topic, but according to your Big Bang theory, you guys believe that proton particles were coming in and out of existence during the time of the Bang.
I think you're mistaking proton particles with electrons. They are not the same thing.
No. I'm going by what P.Z. Meyer said. I'm going by what other scientists on YouTube have said, unless you guys got it wrong. I'm simply repeating what you guys said.
I think you.
Okay. So, as a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, you also misquoting Aaron Ra, Concordance, Prudence, and quite a few other people. Because I can actually, if I had the videos in front of me, I can show you where they argued the parts and parts. As a matter of fact, the arguing against Dragnut too. Come to think about it.
I don't need links.
So
to
wait. So if we're talking about our own atheism, what do these other people and other atheists? What relevance does that have?
Because of the counter argument that you're making, you're telling me that the reason why you don't believe because no one's ever proven that God existed. That gets obliterated.
No, that's not what I said. That's not what I said. I said that no one has provided me with evidence that convinces me that a God.
That gets obliterated, ma'am. The moment I show you somebody who's been convinced that God exists. I said that's not a smart argument. It's not a good one either.
Because their opinion is irrelevant to my own opinion.
Right. So why are you an atheist? Watch this. Why are you an atheist?
Because no one has provided me with evidence that has convinced me a God is real.
So anyway, I gave you the definition for the Christian guy.
You're just going to completely dodge over that.
Because I've already addressed that, and I'm going to end up talking in circles. So, number two, there are naturalistic gods, and this is the ignorance of the atheist community, because a lot of atheists only know about Christianity. The end. They think that's the only religion on earth, or the only belief system on earth. First of all, Christianity is not even a religion; it's a relationship with the Creator. That's number one. And then number two, you can laugh it up. You can laugh all you want, but I can prove that all day in my sleep.
You can prove that you have empirical evidence that you have a relationship with a being that's outside of time and space.
Yes, I can. As a matter of fact, every Christian on the planet believes
what's
this.
Your empirical?
You told me. Hold on a minute.
I'm asking for empirical evidence.
Hold on a minute. You said that you researched. Wait a minute. Hold on a minute. You said you researched Christianity and that you went to church. If you don't know that Christians, hold on a minute. If you don't know that real Christians, not that fake burnt toast that's watching this show right now, but if you don't know that real Christians actually have a relationship with the Creator, then I don't know what to tell you. Okay. So number two, there are naturalistic.
I knew that.
Hold on a minute. I want to finish my definition here. Here's the other gods you don't know nothing about. There are pagan gods and naturalistic gods. These are the things that people equate. Okay, so if you're aware of them, then tell me why Earth doesn't exist. I mean, you overtalked me. You said you're aware. Tell me why Earth doesn't exist. I never made an argument. Tell me why Earth doesn't exist.
I love how your argument is basically, I'm going to burn the rule book. That's how I'm going to fight you.
Okay, but you said that you. Okay,
I'm not burning the rule book
because you jumped.
I'm not burning the rule book. Wait a minute. You're changing the topic again. Hold on a minute. You can't do that. You're changing the topic again.
You completely avoided my question.
No, I did not, and you're changing it. You asked me what the definition of gods are, and I'm trying to answer it. Hold on a minute. And I'm trying to answer it, but before I can elaborate on it, you want to stop and you want to go back to the Christian God. Atheism, historically, real atheism, not this fake mess that we see today. Historical atheism is against all beliefs in any type of deity whatsoever. And you seem to be afraid for me to define naturalistic gods or pantheistic gods or pagan gods or anything like that. Because you will not, because you keep interrupting me every time I try to define it. But you want to know what? I'm not going to define it no more. You asked me a question, I was not able to answer it, so I'm not going to answer it now.
Okay.
If this is how this conversation is going to go, then that's what it's going to be.
Cool.
You're a denialist. That's what I'm going to call you until you actually have a conversation with me.
Okay, that's perfectly fine. I'm totally okay with that. You said that you have empirical evidence that you have a relationship with a being that is outside of time and space. So I would like to know what that empirical evidence is.
Well, before I do that, do you understand what empirical evidence is?
Yes.
And don't ask me to define it, because I already tried to define something and you interrupted it.
Then just
tell me what empirical evidence is.
What's your?
No. What is empirical evidence?
Wait. No. We're not
didn't know what a god was.
Here. No.
Wait a minute. Hold on a minute.
Double standards here. If I can't ask you to define something, you can't ask me to define something.
No.
So what is your empirical evidence?
And this is what happened on Skype too. Hold on a minute. This is what happened on Skype. I ask you specific questions and you don't want to answer them. You ask me questions and I answer them. And then when I return to ask you a question, you don't want to answer it. Okay?
I do.
I know how this game goes. This is why a lot of you are considered dishonest. The bottom line, and by the way, get ready for me using that word a lot, because this is now going to apply to you now in the same way I say the rest of this community. Because I've tried on a couple of different occasions to try to tell you that this is about atheism and theism. A belief in a God and non-beliefs in gods. It has nothing to do with Christianity, right? So I'm saying to you, these are the definitions of God. You clearly don't care about that. You're telling me that nobody's ever proven that Earth exists, the sun exists, the moon exists.
I didn't say that. You're just putting words in my mouth now.
Okay. So how do you explain paganism? How do you explain paganism, man?
What do you mean explain it?
How do you explain paganism?
We have
you say that God does not exist.
3,000 religions, right?
You said that no one's ever proven that a God existed. You don't know what the definition of a God is. Right. So how am I supposed to prove a God exists to somebody who doesn't even know what the word means?
I asked you to define it. I know what a God means.
A God is what? God is omniscient, right?
We could be on the same, so that we can.
God is omniscient. He is a final decision maker. I put it to you like this. God is omniscient. He's a final decision maker, right? God is also, okay, he's omniscient, and he's also the final authority, right? Who's the final authority in your life, man? Who makes the final decisions in your life?
Myself.
Mm-hmm. Myself. Okay, so in paganism, what would that make you?
Final decisions for me.
Wait a minute, Lady Avon. As a pagan, what would that make you if you make your own final decisions?
The same thing.
If you're omniscient in your own world, what does that make you? It's funny until you start looking at these definitions that you guys are saying that you don't believe in. Atheists never think about these things, though. So I'll ask this question again.
How does that
if you're the final authority in your life, what does that make you?
I have a question. I have a question in relation to this.
Yeah.
However I view myself in my own worldview and how I view my world, how does that lead back to proving a God exists?
Ma'am, I just asked you in relation to how are you not believing that a pagan God exists? You're dodging like Matt Dillahunty right now. The bottom line is that both you and your husband, hold on a minute, both you and your husband said that no one's ever proven that a God existed. That's what both of you said in this room, which is going to be used against you now, okay? When we're talking about pagan deities,
we never said
because I'm going to get to the Christian deity, and you ain't going to like what I got to say about that. Okay. But as far as the pagan one goes, how do you know that, let's say, the sun is not a God?
Oh, yep.
Because it's a star.
Because
there's lots of science about
it's a star, but that's not what I asked you. How do you know it's not a God?
Because we have evidence that it's not.
We know what it is. Yeah. We know how it works.
If you talk to a pagan and the pagan says, hold on a minute, and the pagan says, I worship the sun because to me, the sun is God.
Pagans.
How then do you tell, hold on a minute. How then do you tell the pagan that the sun is not God?
You should probably go talk to a pagan because they don't worship the fucking sun.
So, wait a minute, pagans don't worship the sun?
No.
Let me make sure I got your name here real quick. This is Comrade Avon. Okay, cool. All right.
Okay,
so you don't believe pagans worship the sun?
What is a pagan's belief? So a pagan believes the sun is a god. So what? Like what relevance does that have?
This is why our education system is failing us. So let me get this straight here.
Lots of sun.
I'm telling you that a pagan believes that the sun is God. That there are other pagans out there that believe that moon is God. You got Hindus that deify cows, and you're sitting here telling me that a God has never been proven to exist. I want you to define for me what a God is, ma'am. For you to sit there and say that these things are not gods. Now, as a Christian, I can do this in my sleep, but you as an atheist,
know what they are.
Okay, I know what a cow is, yes, and I know what and I know what the sun is. But ma'am, what is the definition of a God? Come on, you don't believe anything. If I don't get to ask, what's the definition?
If I don't, no. If I don't get to ask you to define stuff, then you don't get to ask me to define stuff. Fair is fair.
This is what I'm saying. You guys don't got no rational reason for being no atheist.
What?
Y'all don't got no rational reason for being no atheist. Y'all haven't thought this stuff through at all.
You haven't given anything to argue against.
G-Man, here. You've still danced over the fact. You still
I didn't dance over nothing. I want you to define your words. That's what I want you to do.
You said that you have empirical evidence, that you have a relationship with the deity that is outside of time and space. I am interested specifically in that.
But before I do that, do you know what a deity is?
You've danced around that.
I can't do that until we define our words, ma'am. What is a deity? What is a deity, ma'am? I don't think you know. It's called Google. Go look up the definition. Go look up what the word deity means, and go look up what the word God means.
Just to humor you, I'll do that. I'll specifically.
Oh, of course you will. But you don't believe that something exists, and you don't know the definition of the thing. That don't make no sense, man.
I do know the definition.
No, you don't. I'm losing a lot of confidence that you know the definition.
Can I ask you a question?
It's a synonym. A deity is a synonym for a god or a goddess.
What?
Okay, so what's a goddess? What's a god? What do they entail?
Well, let's.
You guys talk about your education so much, but you guys don't even know the meaning of these words.
Can I go back to an earlier question? What was the name of the deity that pagans worship that is a sun god? Can you tell me the name of it?
Oh, my Lord. Sir, do you know anything about Egyptology, sir?
No, Egyptology is not the same as paganism, my friend.
Sir, could you go look up the word pagan? Go look up the definition for the word pagan. I feel like I'm talking to kindergartners. Go read the word pagan. Go look at the definition of what a pagan is. If Von Helton was in this room, Von Helton would tell you, well, actually, G-Man's true. G-Man telling the truth because technically a pagan is someone who believes in something other than Christianity. No, it is not irrelevant. It's just when are definitions irrelevant?
Here's my question.
Since when are definitions irrelevant?
But here's my question. What is the relevance? What is the relevance of this?
I didn't say definitions were irrelevant. I said the people that you're referencing are irrelevant.
The reason why it's relevant, sir, is because you two said that no one's ever proven that a God existed. I don't think you know what a God is. That's my whole point. I don't believe neither one of you have any idea what a God is.
Let me read the definition for you.
Sure.
It's viewed as the supreme being, creative, and principal object of faith.
Could you read that again, please? A little bit slower this time for the audience so they can grasp it.
A supreme being, creator, or a principal object of faith.
Okay, so we got a supreme being and we got an object of faith, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so tell me why the sun could not be a god, according to that definition.
It's a fucking star.
It's a star.
Yeah, of course it's a star. As a Christian, I would say that's a star. But that doesn't change that is a god for some people. First of all, God's worship, yes or no?
If they want to, okay, wait.
Let's
just quickly address that.
Ma'am, are God's worship, yes or no?
Someone can personally believe the sun is a god. That doesn't make it true. People can believe.
Okay, so in order to do that, ma'am, you have to define what a god is and demonstrate why that's not the case. Because now you are speaking for the pagans. You are speaking for the Egyptologists. I'm sorry, for the person who believes in Egyptology. Then if you're not speaking for them, then define the word and prove that is not what it is. Yeah, go ahead, I'll let you hear it.
We don't believe in
without borrowing from Christianity, by the way. Without borrowing from my worldview, I would like for you to do that, please.
We don't believe in Egyptian gods, so why the fuck would it matter?
Okay, so I don't believe in evolution. Is evolution not true?
What does that have to do with God being real?
If I tell you I don't believe in evolution, does that automatically mean evolution isn't true?
Again, we can prove
that's a dumb argument. That's a bad, dumb argument you're using right now.
There's scientific evidence to prove that natural selection takes place and that evolution is a thing. It is a thing that happens.
Okay, but I don't believe in it. Therefore, evolution isn't true. That's the logic that you're using right now.
That's fine.
That's the logic that we're using.
Of course it's fine.
I talked about this earlier, though.
You're proud about not having definitions.
Even if you disproved evolution and it was incorrect, that does not prove that your God is real. It's not relevant.
Oh my God. Ma'am, do you understand the severity of how bad you look right now? I basically just said to you that to the pagan, pagan is worshiping the sun. Wait a minute. Hold on a minute.
No. G-Man, you need to listen.
Now listen. No. What we're not going to do here is come into my stream and insult me when we're trying to have a discussion. Okay? We have not called you names. We have not put you down. Insulting me. We have not called you stupid. So you are going to mind your manners or you're going to be removed from the stream. Are we clear?
Crystal, and you better not disrespect me either.
Wonderful.
I'm just warning you right now. Do not disrespect me while I'm here if you're going to have that attitude. I don't want to be over-talked either.
Disrespectful so far is
and I don't want to be over-talked. I want my questions answered.
The entire discussion, you have been over-talking.
You've been over-talking the two of us as well. All three of us.
Anyway, I'm a mute. When you guys get your definitions, get back in touch with me. I'm a mute. Get your definition straight. Y'all don't know what a God is.
I just... We just read the definition of a God. Do you have a problem with that particular definition?
No, I don't, because that is that's one of many definitions for a
Wonderful.
God. But my problem is your logic. Your logic is that because you believe that because you don't believe in the pagan God, you know what I mean? That the God that the pagan is worshiping, that makes you an atheist. I'm sorry, that's not true. You said that no one's ever proven that a God existed, because that's what we're talking about now, right? In order for a God to exist, hold on a minute. In order for a God to exist, this is the part that you atheists never get, okay? In order for a God to exist, it must be worshipped. So we're not being specific about the God that we're talking about. We're not being specific about his nature. We're just being very general right now. There are people that worship a God and devote their life to that God. You're going to say that they don't exist. You have not given me a working model with using any sound logic whatsoever to be able to demonstrate that what they worship isn't true.
So you guys don't know what you're talking about. So you don't believe in any physical entity or deity. You only believe in your faith in a book that someone wrote hundreds of thousands of years ago, or a few thousand years ago, or whenever you think that the Bible was written off of the timeline that you have created for yourself, and your faith is created for itself. But you don't actually have any physical reference or any kind of evidence for your God. You're just going off of bullshit, basically. And you continue to believe that. But your belief in that is your evidence. Right? Is that about accurate?
Well, I promise, what's her name? Lady Avon. I wasn't going to be disrespectful. So the answer is no. I'll mute.
Oh.
Okay. So I'm just trying to put this together here. So you're saying that because a pagan believes that the sun is a god, then that must mean that the sun is a god. So if we take that logic, that means that anybody can declare anything a god, and that we would have to accept that as being a god. Is that correct?
Partially. Here's the thing. If you as an atheist are going to sit here and say, and you made the mistake saying this, by the way, by saying that that no one's ever proven that a God existed, and I see a pagan over there worshiping the sun, and to that pagan, that sun is a god to him. What both of you just said is ridiculously wrong. Okay. Now, if you're going to sit there and say that I'm an atheist because no one's ever proven to me that a God existed, that's a little bit different. Now, do you want to make this about yourself personally, or do you want to make this about everybody?
Oh, that's word for word.
That's basically what I said, though, from the beginning.
Okay, so let's go to the precept then. This is what I believe about the Christian God.
Okay, I thought you said. Okay, I thought you said you weren't going to overtalk me, and I didn't get to finish my sentence. So if we're going to try and yell at us for overtalking, then GMan needs to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I should have saw this one coming a mile away. The guest should be coming here soon. But anyway, the bottom line is, at the end of the day, ma'am, you know that God exists as well as your husband. You just suppress the truth about God and unrighteousness.
No.
Tell me something.
See, and this is the problem I had.
I wasn't finished, ma'am. Ma'am, I was in the middle of talking. I'm not finished.
I know, and I know that. No. I am going to explain this to you. Okay, you do not get to sit there and assert what I believe to me. You do not know what my belief is. So you do not have the right to sit there and tell me what I do or do not believe. Because I'm not sitting there claiming that you don't believe in a God and that you're just making it all up. Okay, so let's just get that straight. I do not believe any gods are real, so you do not get to sit there and assert to me what my own beliefs are.
Ma'am, do you know what the presuppositional argument is?
Again.
Do you know what no, I'm not going to try again.
Which
you already
one?
know what I was going to say. Do you know what the presuppositional argument is?
Which one?
Do you know what the presuppositional argument is, ma'am?
I heard you the first time and I asked you which one.
Without God, you can't make any sense. Without God, you can't make any sense with your worldview. And I'm going to stick to what I said. You know that God exists. You just suppress it in unrighteousness.
No. We're not going to play this game. We are not going to play this game. You do not get to assert what my beliefs are. You are not in my head. You do not know how I think. You do not get to sit there and tell me what I do or do not believe. So this is your last warning. The next time you're out for good.
Let me sum up GMan's point.
So let me get this straight here real quick. So basically, I gotta say what you want me to say, and I can't give you my reasons for why God exists. Is what you're telling me? Your position is weak, ma'am.
No. The only problem I have with you is you trying to tell me what I believe.
How about this? How about I talk to your husband for a while, not talk to you no more, since you're clearly not strong enough to deal with me on this.
Well, yeah. Okay.
No, no, we're not going to be disrespectful in my stream. That's just not how we're going to play that. Sorry. No, like, I don't have a problem with him telling me what he believes, but I have a real issue when Christians come in and sit there and have the audacity to tell me what my own beliefs are. Like, they know my own beliefs better than I do. Like, that's just plain old arrogance. Like, I don't. And then to sit there and tell me that he's not going to answer me and he's going to talk to my husband in my own stream, I don't think so. We don't play that.
He only wants to talk to me because I'm drinking and not making coherent arguments. Just laughing.
Like, this was just basically... Here, I'm going to pull up the conversation that we had. I want to thank everybody that joined in.
He really likes to hear himself talk a lot.
Oh, he does. He absolutely does. But I've got 26 people in chat, and I'm so sorry that I got so distracted that I didn't. And like, Drag was messaging me on Facebook. Drag, I did see your messages, but I was so like all over the place that
I am sorry.
Oh, look at this. Look at this. Wait. This is fantastic. So I kicked him out, but he's got the audacity to message me on Skype and say, cults do the same thing. You know gods exist and you just suppress the truth.
Frankly,
you're weak to debate. Do the dishes and let them.
Wow.
So we're gonna. Wow, he blocked me. He blocked me too, or removed me. One of the two. So he had to get in that comment of "I'm a woman, so I got to get in the kitchen and do the dishes" before he blocked me. Wow, what a man! What a man!
Total.
I guess women scare him so much that he's got to get that dig in there. Wow.
Total so
Well, I mean, he's a very small in stature, so he feels like he's got to make up his manliness by being toxic, you know? So
I didn't get any good digs in. I'm a little disappointed. He talked so fucking much that I couldn't like make any good comments on it. Every time I saw him make a stupid point, I was like, oh, I can make a point on this, but he wouldn't shut the fuck up for 2 seconds for me to say anything.
I know. That's why near the end I just started kind of like muting him because he just wouldn't stop, you know. But that's like
how he wins fights.
But like he just kind of dodged over like all of the questions. Like that was one of the things that Drag was saying when he was messaging me, like press him on empirical evidence, which is why I kept saying empirical evidence. And he admitted that, yes, he has empirical evidence that he has a relationship with an imaginary being that exists at a time and space. But you know, wow, we got to move on to another topic and move away from that because he didn't want to actually provide it because ultimately he didn't have anything.
Well, he said it. He did actually say it very clearly. His entire belief system is based. He said it very honestly that his entire belief system, it's not actually a god or any deity. It's not a physical entity of any sort. It is just the amalgamation of faith of all the collective people that believe in any one particular god, quote unquote, and that. Right. And I mean, like
Right. And I understand where he was trying to go with the whole pagans worship the sun and all that stuff. And it's basically, he was getting to, well, the pagans believe the sun is a god. And the definition of a god is to have faith in something. So that must mean the sun is a god. So how could I say that a god doesn't exist when the pagans believe the sun is a god? But he doesn't realize that basically that would mean anything could be declared a god. And if somebody believes it a god, then that automatically must make it a god. And that's just not how that works, right? Like, so I have I have a lamp here sitting in my room. I worship that lamp. That lamp is a god. Does that actually mean that my lamp is a god? No, of course
yes, in
not.
your mind.
Just because
in your mind, according to his logic.
Right.
That is what
just
it is.
Just because I might believe that lamp is a god doesn't mean that it actually is. And Gary just doesn't really seem to comprehend that just because people believe in something doesn't mean that it's true. And I was trying to get that out to him, but he just,
well,
whatever.
His counter argument would be that the only reason that people believe in science and things that are based around like, scientific reason and logic is because of the fact that science is in essence a religion too. And we've only, the only reason it is accepted as quote science in his world is because of the fact that we have convinced enough people through some mystique and mystery and some other bullshit in order to, make people believe in science. I don't fucking know.
Right.
The only difference is like
but,
your God can't be tested in a fucking like house or lab setting, whereas chemistry and science and physics, all these things can be tested at
hallelujah, praise the lamp almighty.
Yes, praise
God
the
love lamp. I am secretly a moth. I love lamp. That's just how it is. But it's funny because he has a real difficulty in actually answering questions, because there was a reoccurring theme in our conversation, in our text conversation on Skype, is that he kept asking me the same question over and over again. Even though I answered him each time he asked me that question, he just didn't accept the answer. So he thought that for some reason, if he asked me the same question again, he would get a different answer. Because he kept saying, well, what kind of evidence would convince you? And I flat out said, I don't know what kind of evidence would convince me. Maybe God revealing himself to me would convince me. Maybe some scientific study that determines that a God is real. I don't know, because I can't tell the future. I don't know what kind of evidence may convince me in the future. Right now, all the best I can say is I don't know. And when I said that, he just kept repeating the question over and over, and then accused me of not answering his question. And I'm like, Gary, what about my answer are you not understanding? I have answered this several times. Just because you don't accept it doesn't mean I'm avoiding your question. So it's like, it's very frustrating to speak to him, even in text, because he just kind of jumps all over the place and doesn't want to actually answer questions. It's like he wants to talk at you and not have an actual dialogue.
He moved the fence post like 50 times throughout the conversation. Like every single time we would like try to, hit him on a particular point, he would be on to the next fucking point. He would never sit on any one particular topic for more than 10 seconds at a time, which was the most frustrating thing.
And I noticed, that if I gave an answer to a question that he didn't like, rather than continuing with the topic, he just kind of went, okay, and jumped to the next topic. Like, oh, I didn't get her on that one, so now we got to jump to something else.
GMan is live.
It was like,
fuck. We're gonna have like 15 messages about how I fucked up and I may have misidentified Egypt religion.
Let's stream snipe real quick.
As pagan. Fuck.
Is he okay? I gotta find him.
I apologize to everyone in the chat who saw me making like horrendous mistakes. I'm so sorry.
Oh, now we're going. He doesn't even know how to. He said Layden Avon activates PMS mode. Oh, Gary. You're funny. It's what's hilarious. What's hilarious is that he got upset with me earlier today because I referred to him as Gary, which is his name, rather than GMan. And he told me that I was being disrespectful to him because I called him Gary instead of GMan.
I'm only going to refer to him
I was like,
Gary from now on.
Well, his name is Gary, just like my name is Mindy. But because I wasn't referring to him to his internet online name, oh no, I was disrespecting him. Even though beforehand he had never said to me personally, hey, don't refer to me as Gary, refer to me as GMan. I was just supposed to, magically know that. Okay, give me a sec here and I'll pull him up. Oops. I know how to work StreamYard, honest. Now, for those that are first timers in my stream, I have shitty bandwidth. So the video is going to be terrible, but you will be able to hear Gary.
You know, if you still have me hooked up to your account, I can probably stream it from my end.
I'm already here, so it's all good.
Okie dokie.
Let's hear what Gary has to say. Gotta unmute him.
Man,
that's my first on YouTube. That they don't give a hoot about no evidence. Okay, they don't even know what the word means. And you know what I'm going to do for this particular channel? Since atheists will not articulate what these words mean. Since atheists will not sit down and GMan will. I'm going to teach you guys what evidence is. I'm going to teach you guys what a God is again, and I'm going to teach all of you again why atheists are stupid. Okay?
The secret.
Bottom line, okay, Lady Haven and her husband made a rookie mistake.
Can you remember my fucking name?
We're not used to debating. And they said that no one's ever proven that a God existed, and then put a period at the end of that. Okay? Bottom line is, at the end of the day,
bottom line is, at the end of the day,
God is proven to exist in a scientific a long time ago. Already showed that with Christmas is a lie. And the playlist they did on the
I didn't say Christmas was a lie. Christmas is a lie.
No, apparently.
Most of them don't even know what the word God means. Okay? What the word, how I use a deity or a God.
What you need to understand about Gary, my love, is that he paints all atheists with the same brush. We are all one and the same. Whoever does not believe what Gary believes is an atheist, and we all have the same belief systems. We all think the same. And so he doesn't know how to kind of differentiate people from and different beliefs.
Yeah, but I'm a capitalist just like everybody else. I believe in Christmas. You know, the capital is Christmas with the presents and all the fun.
I don't know. This is the first time hearing of it. So
the shitty holiday cakes.
It's not going to be the same when you're talking to a pagan. A pagan isn't gonna. And when I say a pagan,
I'm gonna jump real quick back to the beginning of this just to see what he said.
Knew what was going on in her brain, okay, and I knew what was going on in her heart. But
see, he knew what was going on in my brain. He knew what was going on in my heart. The audacity of him to sit here and claim that he knows me in any way, shape, or form when today's the very first time he's ever talked to me.
I have a legitimate question. Am I drunk or is he drunk?
Okay,
because the shit that he is saying does not make any fucking sense to my brain.
No, he's just. I love you. I love you so much, and I'm so sorry to introduce you to him, but he is a stupid man. He is a very stupid man.
I feel like I'm having a brain aneurysm.
All right, oops.
Lady Haven, this is why I don't like talking to females. You guys know how to control your emotion, okay? Your emotions. Just here's a Kleenex for your crocodile tears or whatever. But anyway, hello everybody. Welcome to the Sewing and Reading.
Apparently, I was crying. Do you recall me crying in the stream, husband?
I remember no tears. I remember only confusion.
YouTube channel, and today what I want to do is I want to talk about my discussion with Lady Haven just real quick, since I got muted multiple times, which is no surprise. I kind of expect that when I'm doing
3 times,
it, which is why I do it.
I counted. I was keeping track.
Of what? Of how many times I muted him?
Yes, it was 3. I kept track. You were actually way better than I anticipated because I expected this dude was going to be a pain in the ass.
Yeah, when it got to near the end, my patience was like so running out. I was like, oh.
It happening on somebody else's platform, you guys can see why I do it on mine, right? But anyway, we was discussing whether or not God existed earlier today. We had a Skype conversation. And not a Skype conversation, a texting back and forth. And I personally believe that the conversation was all over the place.
It was.
I think when you're having a debate,
we weren't formally debating. We were having simply a discussion because he invited atheists to come and talk to him about why we are an atheist. So I wrote a bunch of stuff and explained to him my whole background with Christianity, how I tried Christianity, yada, 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 all of that. Do you know what he said to me after I described like my experiences with church? He said, here, I'll read it, actually. I'll read it. I'll pull it up because I was just kind of flabbergasted about how he pulled the conclusions that he did from what I said. Okay.
Oh, but before you get into that, I'd like to apologize to all the people in chat who saw my horrid mistakes and were correcting me. Thank you very much.
Okay. So I said to him that I was raised without religion. I actually don't know what either one of my parents are. Like, I've never discussed religion with my dad or my stepmom. I think they're believers, but I don't really know. And my real mother, I've never asked her. I have no idea whether she's agnostic, believer, an atheist, no clue. Regardless of their personal beliefs, I was raised without religion. So he just makes the blanket statement, oh, your parents were atheists. I'm like, no. I don't make assumptions about people's beliefs without actually asking and talking to them about it. So, I mean, you're incorrect there. They could be atheists. They might not be. I don't know, but I'm not going to make that claim that they are or they aren't. So then he says, it sounds like you had what we Christians call an emotional experience at church. And I was like, what the fuck is an emotional experience at church? Like, what does that mean? Right? So he said, an emotional experience is when someone goes to church and has a feel-good moment for a day and then begins to understand they rushed into something they never actually thought about. What the hell is that?
Very pretentious is what it is.
Yeah. I was like, what does that even mean?
You know, one thing I didn't even get an opportunity to mention to him was the fact that I used to be like a very firm believer in the Christian faith. And like I did.
Yeah, we didn't even get to touch on that.
Yeah, I didn't go into it because I didn't think it was worth talking about, and it wouldn't have mattered anyways because he would have. I wanted to use it as a point, and unfortunately, he fucking machine gunned his way through like 50 fucking other points before I was able to say a goddamn thing. So,
right,
like, I wanted to jump in when he was saying like, "Oh shit," it was like, "Oh, you know, how do you know like atheists that switch over to being Christians or convert to Christianity? Like these people are, you know, that's evidence against atheism or whatever." I was like, "Well, bro, I was like a hardcore Christian, and then." Decided that after, you know, years of going through being in Christianity, I was like, this is bullshit. And after I started thinking for myself and actually spending time looking a little deeper into the Bible and reading about my faith and actually asking questions about my faith and questioning more things in general, I started to realize how many things just didn't make any fucking sense to me.
Yeah. I don't think that honestly would have mattered to him because I think a statement that he said earlier about how Christianity is not a religion, it's a relationship, he would have just easily brushed it off and said you were never a real Christian, because that's what many Christians say. It's just you were never a real Christian.
Yeah, that's often an argument that I get, which is why I frequently avoid even bringing up the fact that I used to be one. It's like, oh yeah, I used to go on missions trips. I firmly believed. I even thought at one point that I was like a faith, like I had thought that I was faith healing people when I was in the fucking Dominican Republic. We put our hands on some kid and he was able to walk after the fact, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. Didn't even occur to me that there was a possibility that this person was just so unbelievably poor that they were willing to, you know, go through that kind of shit in order to get some additional sympathy or currency or some kind of recognition from the people that were there.
Basically faking it for help. Yeah. All right. Do you want to keep watching what he has to say?
Yes.
Okay.
About whether or not God exists according to these atheists. I think that people get caught up in their emotions a lot with this discussion. When we're talking about proof, for example, that there are life on other planets, people don't get really emotional about that. When we talk about people having evidence that a person can live to a certain age, people don't really get this emotional. You know what I mean? They bring whatever they have and you know and they discuss it like adults. When people talk about evidence that a person is the thing that they claim, they don't really get emotional like that until you deal with atheism, where they pretend that they want evidence, for the lack of belief of God, and they really don't. And I've been saying this on here since my first year on YouTube, that they don't give a hoot about no evidence.
Actually,
they don't even know what the word means.
Yeah.
So I'm actually not gonna lie. At this point in my life, I legitimately don't care. Like, if someone actually presented me some real evidence, some hardcore shit that showed me that God was real, I might be willing to look at it and maybe accept it, but it's pretty fucking unlikely at this point. I've lived my entire life without believing in a God. I haven't had anything to indicate to me ever at any point in my existence that there is a God or any deity that has any kind of power or hold over us as human beings. So I don't see any fucking point to it, really. Like, it doesn't bother me at this point. I don't need any evidence, personally, but I don't know about my wife.
I am still, because I feel, I don't know. I used to think that I feel like I was missing something because I was raised without religion, that I was missing an experience that a lot of other people went through. I don't think I feel that way anymore. But because I didn't spend so much of my youth thinking about God and thinking about religion, it's something that I like to talk about now because I find it to be an interesting topic, and I mean, who knows, maybe evidence will be one day presented that is convincing, that convinces a lot of people. I find that doubtful, but it's still, I find it important to talk about. And then on top of that, with everything that's happening in the US right now that is religiously motivated, like laws changing and rights being taken away, that just kind of fires me up about talking about Christianity specifically to prove people wrong, and just kind of put it out there that I don't practice your religion. I should not have to follow your religious rules. So I find that goes hand in hand with some of the other beliefs that I hold. And yeah, I can get pretty feisty when it comes to talking about Christianity, especially with ignorant people like GMan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite the thing. But we've been on here for an hour. I want to do some more drinking, and I don't want to be incoherent. So I think we're going to call it quits there. But that was a lot more spicy than I was expecting it to be, honestly.
It went downhill way faster than I thought it was going to. Like,
I'm honestly kind of surprised he lasted, because I thought for sure he was going to rage quit on us. When I first muted him. No, I kicked him.
Oh, okay, fair.
He didn't leave. I kicked him. Like, after the third time of where he tried to tell me what I personally believe, no, I'm sorry. No, I'm not going to have that. You don't get to sit there and tell me what I believe when you have no clue. Just because it makes you, in your little man heart, feel better to tell a woman what she does and does not believe, doesn't make it true. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to sit here and allow him to disrespect me on my own channel, in my own stream, and do that. So I did give him some leeway. He got 3 tries. And then after that, after he said he wasn't going to talk to me anymore and he was only going to talk to you, no, that was it. I'm sorry.
So I was
you don't get to behave that way.
Before this discussion even took place, I was curious to know about his debate styling and all of that. So I did a little bit of homework about him. And now I certainly fucking understand, there was a bunch of people that said, he's just generally not enjoyable to interact with.
No, he seeks people out on the street that I believe he calls them Israelites. And he will go searching for people to scream at on the street in New Jersey where he lives. And he'll film himself doing it.
Wait, he lives in New Jersey? I did not know he lived in New Jersey. Yeah. But you know what?
Yeah,
the fact that he lives in New Jersey explains so much shit to me, at least a little bit.
I'm not an American, so that means nothing to me.
Yeah, it's New Jersey. It's New Jersey. Depending on what part of New Jersey he's in specifically, too. Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I apologize. My streams have kind of been all over the place. Again, immigration is almost done. The big interview is on September the 12th. And hopefully after that, I will be getting an idea of when the big move to Pennsylvania will be happening. So most likely streaming will kind of be sparse and all over the place if it happens at all. Maybe I should do an update
a video update as we are doing the drive to the interview stuff and doing all the fun things for your audience.
I could.
That would be good.
Could. Depends on how much bandwidth it'll use. We don't have unlimited internet up here in Canada like you guys have down in the US.
Yeah, well, it's not technically unlimited. It's just labeled as unlimited. So it's all a lie.
Yeah, well, see, what happens is when I use up all my internet on my phone, the internet gets shut off until the next billing cycle. So anyway, I will possibly sit down and do an update on where the immigration stuff sits now that my visa medical is all done and out of the way and all of that. If you guys are interested in hearing an update about all of that, let me know. I will certainly sit down and talk about it. But thank you so much, everybody that joined in tonight. It was definitely spicy. Yeah, I love all you guys. Say goodbye, husband.
And remember, children, the religious are the worst.
Yes, they are. All right. Good night, guys.